We all saw over the past year, this year, all of the school boards that begin disrupted by protesters, angry parents saying people are going to hell, that they're anti of everything because of the mask wearing, because of teaching kids about what they should learn in school about our actual history. There's more to it than just that, because there's also an effort to replace many of these school board members with right-wingers that believe in these types of things like anti-vax, anti-masking, don't teach about our history. But it goes even deeper than that because there's a concerted effort behind that. So in 2021, there was at least 80 efforts to recall 207 school board members, and that's more than double any previous record for that. So there's a huge influx on that. The last twist on this is there's also big money behind it. Maybe that's not a twist. But anyway, let's go to some of those details. So there was a sudden interest in school boards. It is not an organic grassroots movement of angry parents. Rather, it's an effort orchestrated by seasoned right-wing political operatives who have formed a constellation of well-funded groups dedicated to disrupting school boards. So with the help of conservative media, they've already succeeded in pushing school boards into the center of these political debates, which is why we've all seen this. So just to give you guys a reminder of some of these things that have happened. This was the scene down in Poway, California. I think down in near San Diego. I think it was Poway, but it's down near San Diego, where some folks disrupted the school board meeting that wasn't open to the public. It was amongst the school board members. They left, and then these folks came in and declared themselves the new school board. Let's watch this really quick.
I have not been a member of any party or organization, political or otherwise, that advocates overthrow the government of the United States or the state of California.
You guys can go home.
Whether unlawful.
You're finished.
I will not advocate or become a member of any party or organization, political or otherwise, that advocates the overthrow of the government of the United States, the state of California by force or violence or other unlawful means.
Yeah.
Sergeant Thomas, stand please.
Sorry, it's not time for you to speak.
Okay, well, all I need for you guys see this movement.
No, they need to vacate because they actually have lost their jobs. So this is the new board.
They walked out.
They need to leave. So.
And they didn't adjourn.
So we're good.
We're good. So that was the ragtag version of them doing things like this, but there is more of an organized effort to this. So there's a Virginia-based Parents Defending Education. That's the group. They've emerged as this leading group that targets the school boards. Their activities include encouraging parents to create social media pages to, quote, document examples of woke indoctrination and waging lawsuits against, again, woke curricula. That's fun. So they've also put together this indoctrination map, is what they're calling it, where it targets certain schools for reasons that they may be teaching kids about anti-racism, offering teachers support. Okay, listen to this. Anti-racism, offering teachers support through affinity groups, and acknowledging inequity. This is what they're opposing. Anti-racism, acknowledging inequity. So if you're not looking at the racism problem, or then looking at the inequity problems, then you're just kind of acting like nothing is wrong. It goes back to the argument of, I don't see any color. I'm just here to continue to perpetuate the complete disenfranchisement of certain folks in the country, and I just don't see it. So they've got a map, and you can see all those lib areas where they're talking about how there's these woke groups that they need to target. So they also claim to be grassroots. This claims to be a grassroots effort, but as I point out, this is all backed up further. So let's look at this. Nicole Nelly, who's the group's president, is also the founder of Speech First. It's a right-wing nonprofit group that advocates for free speech on campuses. In 2018, The Nation reported that Speech First's board of directors included a former head of a Koch-backed trust and 2 conservative attorneys from Koch-funded programs. That's very grassroots. So prior to her work with Speech First, Nelly also worked for another Koch-funded organization, including Franklin News Foundation and the conservative nonprofit Independent Women's Forum. Neely, I believe, was also a Koch Summer Fellow for both the Center for Financial Privacy and Human Rights and the Competitive Enterprise Institute. And that's according to this watchdog group, SourceWatch. So is this gonna work? I mean, okay, this is the thing. This has always been this way. When we have money backing these types of groups that are supposed to look like they're grassroots, that's where we get the term AstroTurf from. When you're just running political campaigns and they're just, they're funded by the people, and the people have brought me here to discuss the problems that are wrong in our country. Now those people in those groups that are out here and are disrupting school boards, those are real people. I'm not saying that, but they're just getting backed by people who are pressing these buttons and making them think that there's this attack on their children's safety, knowledge, education, so they can be these foot soldiers in this quote unquote grassroots organization.
So this reminds me of when the Koch brothers took over the anger about the bank bailouts, and that led to the Tea Party, and people were so furious that all the banks had gone under and cost everybody jobs. We'd lost tens of millions of jobs. I think it was 13 million. And meanwhile, all the bankers are getting bailed out. So they're furious. They started the Tea Party. And the Koch brothers did something smart. They pulled up buses. They already had the buses painted, they had donuts, they had all the infrastructure. And they brought, and the real people were angry, and they took those real people, and instead of bringing them to Wall Street to protest the banks and their bailouts, they brought them to anti-Obamacare rallies. And they said, get your government hand off our Medicare. It doesn't have to make sense. It just, they're in the finance industry, the Koch brothers are in different ways. Like, well, we don't want you protesting us. But if they pass healthcare that would help you, that hurts our other business interests. So why don't we take these schmucks who are real people, but who aren't like the brightest bulbs, right? And we'll just use them for our own purposes to make money. So this one looks like grassroots. Those are real, deranged parents that you saw. But who's leading the charge and who organized it and who's got the big money behind it? A Koch fellow, I do declare. A Koch fellow doesn't quite sound grassroots, does they? Do they? And of course the arrogance of those, the actual grassroots parents there, right? Oh no, they're not the school board anymore, we are. Why? You didn't go through any of the democratic process, you didn't get elected, you didn't ask the other parents that also care, right? You just decided, I'm just gonna take the power, right? I mean, the entitlement is unbelievable. Now imagine a bunch of black dads or Muslim dads go over and go, oh no, that's it, we're taking over the school board. You guys are all evicted, we're now in charge. You have any idea how quickly we get a baton upside the head? Okay, meanwhile the cop is beseeching them. Like, could you, I can't tell, I don't know. What do you mean? No, move them out, move them out. I know, but they're white and they're right wingers. And don't they run this country? No, you have to go, you have to actually win elections. We all count. It's called America. I know you hate it, but that's how it works. And they're sick of it. They're like, we don't want to do the goddamn elections. We keep losing. I just want to go in there and say, okay, you're not the school board anymore, I am. Bunch of children. And so the Koch people see that and go, perfect. They don't know anything. We'll just direct them for our own purposes. Sabrina.
I love how they even expect as if anybody's even going to recognize them as an official school board, saying, no, you're dismissed. Okay, are the teachers going to accept you? Are the other parents going to accept you? Of course not. But I think it's also important to ask why school boards specifically, why is there such a strong organized effort behind protesting at school boards? And I feel like maybe it's so that they can, use the children as pawns, because then they can justify the violent actions that they've been taking. Granted, the video that was shown earlier was a little bit more tame, even though they kind of overtook it. But when you take like kind of violent action in the name of children's safety, it seems like you can kind of get away with a lot. And I think maybe that's part of why they're choosing school boards specifically.
Well, that's part of it too, because I think they'll throw out the lines of, oh man, they're indoctrinating our children. They're co-opting our children's education. They're telling them all these non-facts. And look, they're changing the direction of our country through our children. Don't you want to protect your children? They're pedophiles. Like every overreaching statement that they can say about what these folks are doing is just a 10 times fold version of what they're doing. So they'll suddenly go behind the scenes. This isn't using the children. This isn't piggybacking off of children's education to then say that, hey, we need to take over the school boards to not protect them because of something that we need to push for, some kind of political positioning that these folks that have the money are trying to push for. So it almost disarms folks from saying, why are you guys using the children for these political stances? Because they've already started their whole conversation by saying, you're using the children for these stances. So now it seems crazy for both sides to be pointing the same finger at each other. They've co-opted that message already.
Well, JR, I mean, even the title of the group is hilariously ironic. Speech first, where the whole point of the group is freedom of speech. Now, don't talk about racism. Wait, what? I thought you were for freedom of speech. And I don't know if you know this, but racism actually happened in this country. And if we're teaching history, it's a little bit hard to avoid, right? There was a whole thing about slavery. We got to teach this somehow, don't we? Civil rights movement, Jim Crow, did that not happen? Shut up, don't ever speak again. Speech first.
Yeah.
I mean, because guys, you got to understand, for you're a decent person, you're a rational person, if you're watching the Young Turks, it's hard for you to understand the right-wing mentality. They think freedom of speech means I get to speak and you don't. And they don't think that's hypocritical, because that's how deep-seated their entitlement is. They genuinely believe that. No, freedom of speech is for me. It's not for you teaching about racism. By the way, Texas says we should now teach like both perspectives, the reverse of anti-racism. Is that pro-racism? Like, it's a real question. What are we supposed to, like, how do you give the other perspective? And by the way, these guys going to the school boards, we picked a fairly benign one. Remember, we showed you the one before, the guy, the well-dressed guy talking about how he needed 20 strong men in his house, in his bedroom. No, 20 strong men to go take over the school board and physically remove them. So they're threatening violence all across the country. Meanwhile, there's some billionaires behind them going, I mean, this is the crazy system we live under, because that's the money that drives it. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.